Greg, I wanted to start really, but first of all, by saying thank you, because it is the time difference, and obviously I am in your future.
Yeah.
Um, but you've got 25 years sales experience, and as I looked on your biography, it's anything from starting with hardwood floors to selling sports products and services for
Yeah.
different sports clubs. And you have now transitioned and you speak about sales and humor and how to incorporate humor into sales. So what I want, my first question really is where and where I want to start is what made you change your career from being from sales into the training?
It was actually a training event in Las Vegas for my company that I was working when I was working with SAP.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started doing stand-up comedy of probably about 6 months before this event, but it was a major event every year. 4,000 salespeople from around North America.
Wow.
We take over the Bellagio Hotel in Vegas. Absolute a lot of fun. I mean, there was training and learning and vendors and parties and stuff, but the whole experience was just amazing. And
Mm,
every year, the biggest event of the year for the company was their sales kickoff award show,
yeah.
and they would bring in, I mean, celebrity guests, MCs. One year it was John Cleese.
Wow.
Another year was Sinbad. Musical guest Lenny Kravitz.
Mm,
Like, this is no party. It
yeah.
was over the top kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the year I was there, 7 minutes into this whole event, the MC that they had hired, a comedian, made a very derogatory comment about the first presenter as he was walking off stage.
Right.
And the two of them got into a fight. We're 7 minutes in. I'm at the back of the grand ballroom. And these guys got in a fight on stage. And so they immediately cut the microphone. The house band started playing again. The lights came on, and the room went dead silence. Like, we've all been in those, big event kind of things. I was like, wow,
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm not that guy, right? Because I'd always wanted to be a stand-up comedian and be in front of 4,000 people, but not like what had just happened.
Yeah.
So about 5 minutes after that, over the PA system, it sounded like the voice of God. He said, "Ladies and gentlemen, we are so sorry for what just happened. We deeply apologize, but we want to let you know in 15 minutes we'll be restarting the entire program from stage one."
Mm.
I'm like, okay, sounds good. And then right after that, he said, "Oh, and by the way, if anyone knows where Greg Kettner is, we need to talk to him." And that's when I froze. I was like, that was my name, but why me?
Yeah.
Like, and I looked around the table and nobody knew who I was. So I was like, I'm not going up. And I looked over and I saw an exit door about 5 feet this way. And I saw the stage. It was like a mile down. And so I did nothing. I just kept on eating, right? But I wasn't going to, I mean, it was sirloin steak and great wine. I was like, if nobody knows who I am, I'm going to keep eating. And then I'll go through the exit door. So about 5 minutes after that, the announcer came back on and said, seriously, if anyone knows if Greg Kettner's in the room right now, or his cell phone number, or his room number. And that's when my former friend Trevor came running over from three tables. I was like, dude, they want you to go do stand-up comedy. This is it. This is your
Wow.
chance.
Wow.
I was like, no. I didn't want to do it. I was
Yeah.
scared spitless, right? I wanted the
Yeah.
exit door.
Yeah.
But now everybody at my table knew who I was. I'm like, you got to do it. Go, go, go. And so Trevor drugged me down all the way to backstage. And I just walked up and I said, "I'm Greg Kettner." And this lady goes, "You saw what just happened?" I said, "Yeah, it would suck to follow that guy." And she goes, "That's what we want you to do. We heard you do stand up. Um, let's do it." And they start putting a micro, like, they didn't need, there was no contract. They didn't ask my permission. They're like, "Kid,
Yeah.
you're going."
Yeah.
And at that point, I couldn't think of my jokes or my name or anything. So I'm just trying to get my thoughts together. And I remember standing on the stairs at the back of there's this huge royal blue curtain in front of me. I
Mm.
have no idea what I'm going to say. There's 4,000 people. on the other side of the curtain.
Wow.
And these guys somebody had heard me back in Vancouver do a 5-minute set. So the guy walks out, introduces me as lucky we're here in Vegas. We have, sorry for what happened, but lucky for us, one of our own is a very funny stand-up comedian.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, who are they talking about? So he said, please welcome, give him a big round of applause, Greg Kettner. And I stumbled out onto the stage
Wow.
in blinding lights to a standing ovation. And I had no idea what I was going to say. So I just walked to the middle of the stage and I said, my name is Greg Kettner and I can't do any worse. Applause and laughter and people are high-fiving each other. And so right then, once I had them, everything just kind of slowed down, like Michael Jordan in the zone, right? It just seemed like I'm like, okay, I'm at a comedy club. I'm going to do my 5-10 minutes. And so I did, and it went really well. And then I saw on the time on the clock on the stage that my time was getting up.
Yeah.
And so I said, but before I leave, I have one question. And I said, this year, President's Club, as we all know, is a $10,000 cruise around Turkey, Italy, and Greece. And as we also all know, I'm nowhere near getting on the boat. I said, I missed my number. I apologize to my team. I said, but I'm kind of helping out the company tonight. I said, is there one more spot on that boat?
Yeah. Wow.
And then I shut up. And about 30 seconds later, a guy from the front table stood up, walked up the stage, looked up and said, kid, you're on the boat.
Wow.
And I was like, awesome, I'm on the boat. Another round of applause. And then I leaned back down like, who are you? He's like, oh, I'm the president of the company. I'm like, it's the president. I'm on. And so that night when I walked off the stage to another round of applause, I looked back at that exit door and I'm like, you know what? If I would have gone through that exit door, probably would have lost the rest of my money at the crafts table.
Yeah.
Or I'd be up in the hotel room or at a bar or something.
Yeah.
But I had that opportunity and I went up there and I'm like, wow, I did 15 minutes of stand-up comedy. I got a $10,000 trip.
Yeah.
I think I can do this.
Yeah.
And here we are 10 years later, still doing this.
Yeah.
And it was because of that night that I was like, I can either sell software or I can make people happy and change their lives and say, hey, if there's an exit door, you don't have to go through the exit door every time. And that's how I got started in the whole speaking and training. And I haven't looked back since. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. Wow. What an incredible start and what a way of being thrown into the deep end.
Yeah. No, I was just, and then, of course, afterwards, everybody's coming up to me and they're like, oh my God, I can't believe that. And I want to be your friend. And it was flattering. But after about 20 minutes, there was literally a line of 100 people who wanted to shake my hand. I had no clue who they were.
Yeah.
I just went and grabbed 3 or 4 beers and went up to my room and hung out by myself. Afterwards, I was like, too much people.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, and that's, when I thought, maybe there's something to this. Maybe I can take my sense of humor and my positivity and show other people how it can benefit, in your work lives, in your sales, in your home life, or with your kids.
Yeah.
So
wow. So sales, taking it back a little bit into the sales and the sales training. Most of the time, sales training is really quite a serious business, and teaching people, closing, prospecting, working with people, communication. You come in from a different angle of bringing humor into sales. How do you bring humor into sales? How do you infuse it?
Well, naturally, I'm hilarious. No, but it's a sense of humor, and obviously, it's 2020. We have to be very PC. If that guy wasn't PC on stage, if he would have been PC on stage, I would still be selling software or flooring, right?
Yeah.
So it has to be, HR friendly, PC. But there's so much out there that you can do. Either a quick sales joke or a smile. Really, when I go into a meeting and I make a call, or even on a phone call trying to get through the gatekeeper, every time you pick up the phone, I would be like, hey, it's Greg with SAP. How are you? And she was like, "Oh, I'm fine. How are you?" I'm like, "Oh, I wish it was Friday." Right? And it worked better if it's on Monday, right?
Yeah,
Versus
yeah,
Friday. But
yeah,
that little laugh, she would laugh. I go, "Oh yeah, me too. I wish I wasn't here today. I can hardly wait till Friday." I'm like, "Absolutely, I'm in the same boat." So I don't want to take much of your time, but if I can be patched through to so and so.
yeah.
So just that little laugh got me that break instead of having the phone slammed down on me. It's
Mm,
like, oh, okay, this guy is just like me. He has empathy. He doesn't want to be at work either.
yeah,
We had a laugh, and then we can move on. But that's just, one small example, but it makes you stand out. And then the next time, and I call and you get the gatekeeper again, it's like, hey, it's Greg with SAP, the guy who wants to quit on Monday, right? Again, another laugh, and then your buddies, and then, they're helping you find the right people that you want.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Fascinating. And with your experience, obviously experience as a salesperson, experience as a person who is right now helping, guiding, and training salespeople, what what are challenges that you find that salespeople face during ordinary times of sales? Obviously, now we're in a slightly different way of doing sales
Yeah.
business, especially where you are in the US. But here in New Zealand, we are more or less back to normal. So, what would be some of the challenges that you find salespeople usually face that you help with?
Well, I think a lot now. Business has obviously changed. I mean, both you and I are in sales, and it's changed. I remember where I would go in. I was selling for a junior hockey team, and I was making 100 calls a day, dialing for dollars, just picking up the phone. And at that point, the only way you could buy hockey tickets was being on the phone or in person.
Mm,
But now with Amazon and the internet, you don't need a guy like me to sell you tickets. You
yeah,
can just go onto the team's website or to a reseller and buy those tickets. So I think that humor has really allowed me and the people that I work with to stand out among the crowd. They're buying not just tickets, but they're getting me so that they know that if something goes wrong with the tickets, it's the guy who loves hockey,
mm,
obviously. But a regular guy who is funny, and the humor, and when you make people laugh, it's a common language. I know we both speak English, but I've been in certain situations where something has happened and there's two or three different dialects that people are languages that people are speaking,
yeah.
but you see it, everybody laughs together, and it brings people together. It makes you memorable, and it makes you stand out in a crowd of, hey, here are the feature and benefits.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Humor is a very is a little bit tricky sometimes because and you said
Yeah.
it earlier. Now we're in an era where humor needs to be more PC, and especially being in sales and talking to people, there's a fine line where you are kind of just right, or you might cross it over to that wasn't
Yeah.
appropriate and actually killed it. Have you had some experiences where you've done something and go, oh no, I shouldn't have said that? Or have you developed a method to kind of go, right, I think this is just about right. And if I cross it, then I killed it.
Yeah. Well, I've done both. I've stuck my foot in my mouth many a time, and even on sales calls. So now how I approach it, and there's obviously different kinds of humor, right? I mean, there's obviously everybody thinks of stand-up comedy, but there's improv, and now with the internet, there's gifs and there's memes and there's cartoons
Mm,
and all this kind of thing. So when I first meet somebody um, prospecting, and I can't get a hold of them, I keep their email address, and every Friday I send out a Friday funny.
right.
And I just find a generic plain cartoon. If now during October I'm sending out Halloween, but I just go to the Far Side, Google Far Side Halloween, and just send them a quick cartoon. I cut and paste it, and just a quick message, no ask, no, can we set up a meeting, and just say, hey George, I saw this cartoon, thought of you. Have a great weekend.
Mm,
And that builds up, and I've had people come back to me and saying, hey, I missed the cartoon last Friday, or hey, I think you're really funny, do you have anything else? And then once you build that relationship and you have a conversation, you might be at the pub at this point and having a beer, then you can tell them a joke or a funny story. But you can't do that right out of the gate, because you don't know. I know where my level of humor is, but I don't know the other person.
Yeah. Yeah.
You kind of want to try to
Yeah.
match that. But
So
yeah, but there's so much that can be funny. I mean, I've got a kid. I mean, there's a lot there's a lot of humor there. But she's my stepdaughter, and she's absolutely wonderful. And I was telling a friend of mine, I said, "Yeah, I'm a 16-year-old stepdaughter." He says, "Wow." He goes, "What's that like being a stepdad?"
mm,
And I had to think for a bit, and I thought, well, it's kind of like taking over the lease payments for someone else's car. Right? Like, I didn't buy the car. I don't know if I would have picked that color, but it's a great car. It's still under
yeah.
warranty.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's so much stuff that you can play with, or send a cartoon or a funny meme that isn't going to offend anybody,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
make that connection one on one.
Yeah, what you just said about the story with your stepdaughter, that brings me to my next question. How do you learn to use humor, or where do you find humor? Because people say that they're not talented or they don't have the
Yeah.
ability to use humor, but I think that everybody can, as long as they know how to do it. So where do you find, or how do you learn to be funny?
I think some people are just naturally funny. I grew up in a loving household. We're still all friends, which is not normal these days. And sometimes I'm like, man, if my family wasn't so nice, I'd be funnier,
Yeah.
um, or I'd have more stories to share. But I think a lot of it is just when you're talking to people, it's hitting them, like a boxer analogy, hitting them with the left hook. Right? You're going down a store, telling a story, or talking, and all of a sudden you hit them with a left hook with something they don't even see, coming. But it definitely can be developed. I mean, whether you're watching YouTube videos, or my daughter Rachel's into TikTok, so she's always showing me these short TikTok videos. And what's funny and ironic about it is that left hand hook. It's some grandma complaining about something that a grandma should not be complaining about, right? She never had in her days, like, oh, I don't like
Yeah.
this TikTok. I don't look good on a TikTok.
Yeah.
And it's comical because it's not normal. So if we can learn to think of things that are not normal, like when I'm talking to the gatekeeper, how are you doing? Well, how are you doing? Like, oh man, I wish it was Monday. When you come down to other people's level
Yeah. Yeah.
and give them a different perspective or a different view of what
Yeah.
you're talking about.
Yeah. So you really, from what I can pick from the conversation, you're using humor, or have been using humor, for in two ways. The first one is to build relationships with people, so over time, or build your brand, so you are the funny salesperson. But also you use it to diffuse tense situations. If
Yeah.
we're talking about the cold call to the gatekeeper, or somebody that you don't know, or where things become tough. Is that a fair observation?
Yeah, it can be, it de-escalates. And even with coworkers, we obviously, I don't, maybe you do, maybe you're perfect. But I
No, not according
see,
to my wife.
yeah, see, you're being funny right now, Gary. That's it, right? We're having a conversation. It's clean and it's funny because it's true. But we've all worked with different people, and we've probably been the other person that we don't get along with, right?
Mm,
There's a conflict or whatnot. But if you can sit down and watch a YouTube video, or share a YouTube video with them, or tell them a quick joke, even a street joke, you're and the joking is so much different. I had a guy come up to me the other day on the golf course, and he said, "Did you hear that joke about the jump rope?" And I'm like, "No." And he goes, "Skip it." It's like, it's a horrible joke. It's a dad joke. It's punny, whatever you want to call it. But I remember that over somebody telling me a story about their dog,
yeah.
kind of thing. So it can diffuse situations and bring people. And when we do laugh, it chemically it releases endorphins,
Mm,
which is a happy drug, and it's legal and it's free, and anybody can use it.
yeah. Yeah. And over the last, I think you said it started around March. You started a YouTube group called, no, sorry, not a YouTube, a Facebook group
Yeah.
called Humorlab, and now there's now more than 9,000
Yeah.
people part of that group. How how is that? How is that started?
You know that it got started. I was stuck in my office for the fourth consecutive day, and there may or may not have been a bottle of wine involved. Um, but I just thought, why not start a group here on Facebook of people who want to laugh, who are feeling like me. They're shut in. They're not seeing their friends.
Mm,
But let's make it, especially now this year with politics. Let's make it non-political and PG-13, so that my mom or my grandma or my 16-year-old daughter could
yeah,
jump on there and not be offended.
yeah,
So I just put a little group together. I found a photo on Google, three eggs smiling, and I just called it the Humor Lab. I'm like, well, what do I call it? I'm like, well, I want people to create humor. I don't want to be and it's never been me as a focal point.
hmm,
It's all been about the members and how we all bring our different views of humor into it. And the stories. I mean, I've met you through the Humor Lab.
mm,
I met a ton of great people, and I'm getting a lot of now people are reaching out to me and saying, thank you so much for this. I've been stuck in my home office. Like you and
mm,
I, well, maybe not you, because you guys are over it. You keep bragging about
yeah,
being over
yeah.
COVID. But one person reached out to me and said, thank you so much. Not only it's been COVID, I've gotten sick. I went through a major health scare. I've gone through a divorce, and I lost my job. So
Mm,
wham, three major things in his life in a 6 month period. And he said, thank you so much for the Humor Lab, because every day I go to it when I'm not feeling down.
yeah,
I scroll through, I read a couple of things, and I'm feeling so much better. So that's been the biggest benefit for me of having this
mm,
is seeing people be happy and coming to a place where they feel safe, where they can share
yeah,
and laugh and
yeah.
feel better.
Oh, amazing, amazing. And you started. I saw it. I think this week or last week you started something new about the water cooler chat, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Well, I'm doing a webinar, the virtual water cooler. So a friend of mine, Jeff McLaughlin, and I are sharing three ways in which people can feel like they're engaged in their jobs. I recently read a study. It was done by Gallup, and they said that only 18% of the workforce feels engaged when they're at
Mm,
work. I was like, wow, that's not very much,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
But if we can keep people engaged, make them feel like they're valued, even while we're working from home, the productivity is going to go up, the
yeah,
stress will come down, the turnover will go down, and at the end of the day, the company is going to make more money because people are engaged. But the other thing that you were talking about is a weekly podcast, similar to the Friday Funnies, but I'm actually interviewing experts in the workforce who do use humor.
mm,
Um, this coming Monday, I've got a guy named Mike Curry. He's out of Canada, represent, and but he goes around and he's an amazing speaker, and he talks to businesses and organizations how to use humor that's appropriate, that's HR friendly in the workplace.
yeah,
And it's just a quick chat. We do it on the Humor Lab on Facebook Live every Monday, and it's just a way for other people to get ideas on how they can make their workplace that much better, so
yeah,
that they enjoy going to the job, that they're more productive, they make more money, and at the end of the day, they have more time to do what they want to do, whether it's family or travel or whatnot.
mm, mm. Fabulous, Greg. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you
Oh, for
for the
sure.
humor. Thank you
Yeah,
for being happy to get interviewed and being broadcasted all over New Zealand. I'd like to think that it goes all over New Zealand. Probably
absolutely.
doesn't, but I'd like
In
to think
China
so.
and Congo and Nineveh.
Yeah, yeah. So I really, really appreciate. Thank you, and I will catch up with you very soon.
Sounds great, Gary. Thank you so much. And if anybody has any questions or whatnot, feel free to reach out. It's just my website, gregkettner.com.
Fabulous. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Gary. Have a great day.